我谈恋爱的时候也谈过爱打游戏的男生啊。
I used to date a guy who was really into video games. To be honest, when you're just dating, it's not really a big problem. You might think he's a bit of a homebody, maybe a little obsessed, but as long as the two of you are in love, you can play together, make some compromises, and it'll pass. But once you start thinking about marriage, things change completely. If a man is still obsessed with gaming at the stage where you're considering marriage, doesn't communicate much, and seems indifferent about everything, then you really need to be careful. This kind of addiction to a specific type of entertainment, whether it's gaming, drinking, gambling, or even going clubbing all the time, actually points to the same issue, a lack of responsibility in real life. A man like this is basically incapable of earning money for the family, and he's also not capable of living a proper life with you. For example, you ask him to take care of something important, something that needs to be done, and he always says, "Wait a minute, let me finish this game first." But in reality, this game is never over. He'll probably forget what you asked right after he says that. Then when you see he still hasn't done it, you can't help but take care of it yourself. In the end, it's always you who ends up doing it. Over time, you'll realize that you're not just his girlfriend, you're his nanny and his backup worker. A man like this might be fun to hang out with, but he's not someone you can build a life with. Because he hasn't truly grown up, and he's unlikely to achieve anything big or earn much money, either.
你能接受你的另一半打游戏吗？
Can you accept your partner being addicted to video games? Today I was chatting with a friend, and she mentioned that her husband actually doesn't have many other hobbies. After getting off work, he basically dives straight into video games. She said she didn't think it was a big problem at first, since everyone needs some way to relax and entertain themselves. But the problem is, this state has already started to affect their normal communication. When she talks to her husband, he completely ignores her, his eyes and mind are only on the game. Every day he says, "I'll play less," but nothing ever changes. What's even more outrageous is that my friend is pregnant, and her husband is still like this. She's at home with a big belly, and sometimes she just wants to talk to discuss something, but her husband completely tunes her out. It's like his ears are sealed, and all he sees is the video game, with no awareness of real life at all. She has tried many times to talk with him, to get him to realize his responsibilities now, but it's almost completely useless. In my opinion, if things have gotten to this level, then it's really time to seriously consider the future. You either face the reality and leave this person, or you accept the fact that a man addicted to video games basically won't change. Especially during her pregnancy, not only does he show zero care, but when he gets home, he doesn't even wash a bowl. He ignores everything. The first thing he does is play video games. Tell me, can you really expect a man like this to take on the role of a husband and father? A man like this probably won't amount to much in his life. Can a life like this really continue?
你们讨厌老公打游戏吗？我真的是极其讨厌我老公打游戏。
Do you hate it when your husband plays video games? I'm honestly getting more and more fed up. To be fair, my husband doesn't really have any terrible habits. He doesn't smoke, doesn't drink, and he's actually quite a decent guy. But he's just obsessed with video games. That level of addiction is really beyond my understanding. Every day after he gets home from work, he can literally skip anything. Skip dinner, skip showering, skip sleeping, but the one thing he won't skip is his daily session of gaming. Even when his eyes are barely open from exhaustion, he'll just sit there groggy and half asleep, still glued to his phone, playing round after round after round. What's even crazier is how well he blocks out the world. Sometimes I'll be standing right next to him, talking, and he won't respond at all, like I don't even exist. If I want him to help out a little, do some chores, or even just take care of our kid for a moment, I have to call him over and over again. Sometimes I shout until my throat goes hoarse before he finally drags his eyes off the screen and lazily mutters, "Just a sec." Do you know what the most infuriating moment was for me? There was this one time when he stayed up the entire night gaming, didn't sleep at all, and then the next morning, had the audacity to say he had a headache and asked me to take our kid to kindergarten. I was absolutely furious. I wanted to smash his stupid phone right there and then, and just delete games from the face of the earth altogether. I keep telling him if he could just channel that same level of focus and dedication he puts into video games into actually making money and supporting our family, we could have already bought at least one more apartment in the city by now. Our quality of life would have improved dramatically. But he refuses to listen. He insists that gaming is his way of relaxing. At first, I even went online to see if there were other women like me, driven crazy by their game-addicted husbands, and to my shock, I found a whole bunch of posts from women saying things like, "If you're gonna marry a gamer," and "Men who play games are loyal and family-oriented." That really blew my mind. I just want to ask everyone, do you honestly believe that's true?
什么样的男人是绝对不能要的？
Many girls always ask me, what kind of man is truly worth marrying for life? To be honest, there's no universal answer to this question, because everyone's definition of happiness is different. But there is one thing I can tell you with absolute certainty. There are certain types of men you must never choose, not even for 1 second. They're not worth the hesitation. First, a man who doesn't have a proper job and is hopelessly addicted to video games. Please stay away immediately. If he's also spending money in those games non-stop, it shows his values are distorted. You shouldn't even get close to such a man. Second, a man who keeps asking to borrow money from you. Cut ties with him as soon as possible. No matter how pitiful his story sounds, a man who opens his mouth just to ask for money is absolutely not someone you should spend your life with. Third, a man who constantly gives you the silent treatment and uses silence as a form of punishment. You need to walk away without hesitation. Fourth, a man who always puts himself first and never cares about your feelings. He must be avoided at all costs. Fifth, if you've been dating for over a year and he still avoids talking about his income, then it's basically a sign he has no intention of letting you truly into his life. Break up now. Sixth, a man who starts calling you baby or wifey non-stop shortly after you meet, sweet-talking you all the time but showing no real sincerity in actions. This type is often overly emotional and highly manipulative. Don't be blinded by the sugar-coated words. Seventh, a man who pinches every penny when it comes to you and is always calculating and stingy. Break up with him without a second thought. A man who's unwilling to spend money on you now will also be unwilling to give you time and care in the future. Eighth, a man who always paints you a beautiful picture of the future but never actually takes any action. Don't wait around anymore. He's just wasting your time and emotions. Lastly, a man who always says, "My mom said," or "My mom doesn't like it." A classic mama's boy, absolutely must not stay. If he lacks basic judgment and boundaries, then you're not in a relationship with him, you're just playing the role of his second mom. Hearing all this, it may feel like, is there even any man left worth keeping? Yeah, good men are indeed rare. So once you actually meet a good man, make sure you truly cherish him.
好多女人在结了婚之后啊，对老公打游戏这个事儿，
Ladies, have you ever noticed that a lot of women just can't stand it when their husbands play video games after getting married? I used to be like that too. Every time I saw my husband completely absorbed in his game while I was cooking in the kitchen, or our child was doing homework and needed help, I'd get so mad I felt like exploding. Sometimes I just wanted to storm over and snatch his phone or laptop away. Especially when I asked him to stop playing and help out, and he responded with that "don't bother me" attitude. It drove me crazy. But you know what? Over the years, as I've been going through self-reflection and personal growth, I've started to realize something. We women often carry a deep-rooted belief that the home belongs to both partners, so everything that happens in it, chores, child-rearing, even downtime, should be shared. What we really want is a sense of we're in this together. Even something as simple as washing dishes or taking a walk. We hope our husbands will participate. But men don't necessarily think this way. They tend to value individuality and personal space more. Your husband is like this, and chances are, your son might be too in the future. Many women often can't distinguish between care and control. We think we're just reminding them or taking care of them, but to them, it feels like interference, like we're crossing a line and trying to control their freedom. Men generally have a stronger sense of boundaries. They need their own space to relax, to do things they enjoy. And for many men, video games are a form of stress relief. Think about it, before video games existed, didn't they still go out drinking or playing cards with their buddies? It's really the same thing. They need a personal outlet. So here's something we need to understand. Their happiness doesn't always have to be tied to ours. Sometimes, all they need is a quiet corner where no one bothers them, one game session, a moment to breathe. Of course, if you're interested in video games yourself, you can absolutely ask your child or husband to show you what they're playing. You might even join in and turn it into some great bonding time as a couple or as a family. But if you truly don't like it, that's okay too. Just respect their interest. There's no need for sarcasm, no need to pick that exact moment to assign chores, and definitely no need to interrupt them on purpose. Just remember this. Men aren't unwilling to help. They just hate being pulled away from something they're immersed in. Try having calm conversations at other times, like discussing in advance who will handle the chores or help the kids in the evening. Don't just shout at him mid-game to come wash the dishes. Women want to be understood, and men want to be respected. Whether it's your husband or your son, they both deserve to have their own hobbies and ways to relax. True intimacy means mutual understanding and support within healthy boundaries, not endless interference or control. So ladies, did you get it? Let's try stepping back a little. Learn to let go. Maybe life will feel a whole lot easier.
I often see some women complaining online. My husband is already in his 30s. No car, no house. Fine, I can live with that. But how does he still have the mood to play video games? Is he destined to be a loser, never going to make any money in this lifetime? Some women say even harsher things. It's bad enough that men can't make money, but they even spend money on games, saying things like the only joy left for middle-aged men. What a joke. Does he seriously think he's rich or something? After seeing these kinds of complaints, the first thing I want to say is, aren't we being a little too quick to judge someone else's life? First, ask yourself, if he didn't play video games, would he really become rich instead? Is he a failure because of games? A man in his 30s is at the peak of life's pressures. He has aging parents to support and young kids to raise. Every day, he faces household chores and fierce workplace competition. He's not as passionate as he was at 20, and he hasn't yet reached the peace of mind people have at 50. At this stage, he's finally found a way to relieve stress that doesn't involve drinking or clubbing, just video games. Instead of understanding, you mock him and ridicule him. So where else can he find happiness? Some women will say, if a man is really capable, he wouldn't be playing games. He'd focus on making money. But have you thought about this? Maybe it's exactly because he knows how hard it is to make money, that he needs a small escape from reality. Don't treat video games like the enemy. For many men, they're just a little boy inside who doesn't want to grow up. When they're fighting monsters, leveling up, and teaming up with friends, what they feel isn't immaturity. It's relief. And honestly, if you keep humiliating him like this every day, maybe one day, when he really does make money, he might just turn around and get a new wife. You mock his fake joy from gaming. But his lightheartedness is real, and so are his emotions. Everyone needs a way to relax. Some like shopping, some go to the gym. Video games are just one of many options. So women, stop asking, can a man who plays video games still be successful? What you should ask is, when he feels most like escaping, can I still offer him a little understanding and kindness? So, what do you think about adult men playing video games? Feel free to share your stories or thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. See you in the next video.